If anyone's on the call right now, can I get a confirmation? Can you hear me okay? Is my audio coming through?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, thank you. All right, everybody. Welcome in. I'm going to get us kicked off here. So welcome into Mod 2. I am Brian, and we've got Jameson here with us as well. So welcome to the World Wide Web. Before we get into like too much of the Mod 2 specific content, wanted to give you all a brief introduction for myself and for Jameson, so you kind of like know a little bit of our background, and then we'd love to hear from you all. So let's not your turn yet. I'll start first and just give you a little bit of my history. So I went maybe what you would say is the more traditional route to get to computer science. I started with a class in high school and just kind of like dabbled into programming and found it really interesting. And when I went to college, I went to the University of Virginia. And at that point, I was pretty set on being an engineer. So going into school, I was enrolled in the engineering program, and so I had about 1 semester to figure out what type of engineering do I want to do. And I took one more computer science class, and I was like, yes, I'm hooked. This is awesome. I can like do anything that I want to with programming. The possibilities are endless. So I really fell in love with programming. My major was actually computer engineering. So it's not exactly computer science. Computer engineering is kind of like if computer engineering is like if computer science and electrical engineering had a baby. So I did a lot of hardware stuff, but at the end of my career, I kind of realized like the hardware isn't really my passion. It's more of just like something that I'm interested in. So I kind of like focused my job search on that software side. So I ended up after graduating, so I went to the University of Virginia, and then I moved to DC after that and was working for a government contractor for about a year before I left and moved out to Colorado, found this job at Turing and began teaching. So I've been teaching here at Turing for about 3 years and really excited to be here. So that's me. Jameson, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, so I'm Jameson. I graduated from Turing from the 1803 back-end cohort. And before attending, I was working a few different jobs. I was working as like a youth director. I did a lot of private music lessons and things like that, and was coding as a hobby on the side. And when I started to enjoy it more than I expected that I would, I thought, well, I should probably find a place to like learn this the right way. And Turing came up in a podcast I was listening to. So that's how I heard of it. And a couple of years later, I enrolled and attended. And since going through Turing, I have worked at a really small startup in Denver, where I was one of 3 engineers most of the time I was there. And I also worked at a completely remote company that was remote before COVID for about a year and a half on the growth team doing both Rails and React. So that's kind of been my journey a little bit before tech and into it and through Turing. So that's me. Hand it back over to you, Brian.
Awesome. So we would love to hear from you all. If we'll go in alphabetical order here. Jameson, do you have the attendance sheet pulled up?
I thought I did, but I think I have not the right one. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'll just, I think I have it up here. So let me double check.
I'm looking forward to it.
Angel, is that right? Yes, that's this cohort. Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna go in alphabetical order. And I'd love to hear from everybody. Just share your name, what pronouns you use, where you're from, and what were you doing before Turing? I really want you all to like have creative liberty here to just share really like, it doesn't have to be like what specific job were you doing right before Turing, but just something about yourself that, from your past or like something that you did. Yeah, so let's start it off. Oh, and please correct me on any pronunciations right away. So we'll start with Angel.
Hi, my name is Angel. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from Conway, Arkansas, and I was a software developer at a small company here in Conway, Arkansas, before I came to Turing.
Awesome, thank you. Arika.
Hi, it's Erica, actually. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm from Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And before this, I was working as an assistant manager at a climbing gym here in Salt Lake. And yeah, I was just kind of like basing all of my decisions in life all around climbing. And so I'm here kind of switching gears and focusing on my career instead.
Awesome, thank you. I just went out this weekend and bought a new pair of climbing shoes. That was like, I'm gonna do something nice for myself this year. All right, let's hear from Ben.
Hey y'all, my name's Ben. Pronouns are he and him. From the great place of Denver, Colorado. And before Turing, I was going through the traditional education program. Did 2 years at Community College of Denver, and then when I transferred to CU, they didn't honor any of those credits, so I had to start over as a freshman again, which is kind of a bummer. And so it was like, I don't really think I want to spend the next 5 years in their degree program. So here I am.
Awesome. Let's hear from Brisa.
Hi, my name is Brisa, she, her. I'm from Denver, Colorado as well. I had a lot of jobs, but I mostly specialized in informal academia. So I worked with paleontologists and archaeologists all over the state to like dig up stuff. That's basically it.
All right, thank you. Karen.
Hi, my name is Karen. My pronouns are she, her. I have a background in, I'm an artist and in design as well. I have a degree in both of those fields, industrial design, and I also worked as a graphic designer once a long time ago. Is that it? I think that's it.
Great, thank you. Genevieve.
Hello, my name is Genevieve. My pronouns are she, her. I am also a Colorado native, born and raised in Denver, though I've lived in many other places. Before Turing, I was working in hospitality. I worked in different facets of technology, as well as like operations, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great, thank you. Harrison.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm Harrison, pronouns he, him. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I got my rep in the shirt, original MD, if anyone likes the Orioles. What were you doing before Turing? I was just kind of going around retail job, lifeless, not lifeless, just listless is what I was trying to say. Not really having a path. So, and I decided it's time to buckle down. So I started Turing.
Awesome. Are you a Ravens fan too?
I am a Ravens fan. So.
Just go to mod 3. You did it. Congrats. Well done. All right, let's hear from Jacob.
Hi, Jacob, he, him. My hometown is Meade, Colorado. And before Turing, I was working in the field of HIV prevention. And I also was briefly a census enumerator. So that's it.
Thank you. And let's hear from other Jacob.
We've decided I go by Jake, he goes by Jacob to help clear things up in the cohort.
Yeah, that's
Jake,
better than other Jacob.
Either way, as long as I'm the other. Jake, he, him, originally from Miami, Florida. I've been in Colorado since 2009, and I did all kinds of sales, which led me into like being a partner in a landscape company for a little bit, and then selling roofs door to door for hail damage. So if you lived in Colorado and had a house and you got hit by hail, I was the asshole banging on your door trying to make money.
All right, thank you, Jake. Let's go to Jenny.
Hi, Jenny, she, her. I grew up in Arkansas, and I live in Conway. Before Turing, I was a software developer.
That will probably come in handy. Let's hear from Jeremiah.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah. I go by he, him. I guess before, I'm from Broomfield, Colorado, so just north of Denver. And before Turing, I was a personal trainer and a full-time student at the University of Colorado, doing both business administration and computer science.
Awesome, thank you. Jesus.
Hi, my name is Jesus. I go he, him. I'm from Rockford, Illinois. And before Turing, I was a machinist. So just making parts, writing G code and stuff like that, and then just managing people, running machines and stuff like that. So.
Cool. Let's hear from Jordan.
Hey y'all, my name's Jordan, he, him. Hometown is San Jose, California. The past 10 years, I have professionally been a DJ, a baker, a sommelier, a farmer, had a band that made some money, and then worked on self-driving cars. So done a couple things.
Awesome. Let's hear from Joseph.
Hi, I'm here. Let me move this over here. I'm Joseph, he, him. My hometown is Redlands, California, and I was a server / bartender, and I was habitually changing my major at a community college. So that's me.
Katie.
Hey y'all, my name's Katie, she, her for my pronouns. I'm originally from the northern suburbs of Chicago in Illinois and currently living in Chicago. Before touring, I was a consultant, event coordinator in the wine industry. And prior to that, I have a degree in meteorology, atmospheric sciences, and mathematics.
Awesome. I love now that we can have people from all over. That's great. Koa.
Hello. My name is Kwa. Before touring, I was working in the audiovisual department in hospitality. So yeah, here I am.
Awesome. Thank you, Kwa. Let's hear from Chris.
Hello, my name's Chris. Pronouns are he, him. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And before touring, I did like chefing, I did sales. And the last thing I did before touring was in Denver, I worked as a project manager doing like traffic data collection.
Thank you. Kyle.
Hey, how's it going? Kyle, he, him, originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And before this, I was actually living in Massachusetts and looking for an invasive insect for the state that like kills mostly maple trees.
Megan.
Hey, I am Megan, she, her. I am originally from the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, but I am in Broomfield, Colorado now. And before touring, I was working in the physical therapy field.
Thank you. Thomas.
Morning, everybody. I'm Tommy, he, him. I'm from Taunton, Massachusetts. And before this, I was a space operations officer in the Air Force.
Cool. Trevor.
I am Trevor R. I think there's 2 Trevors still. And pronouns he, him. I'm from Parker, Colorado, just south of Denver. Before touring, I worked at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science doing exhibit tech support. And when I was there, I realized that I liked working with like computers a lot more than I liked working with like amplifiers and other tech stuff. So I decided to do this.
Very cool. I think did you all do a how computers work class in Mod 1? No. Yes, maybe. Seen a lot of no's. Yeah, so Jeff used to give a class on basically like how audio signals, how closely that relates to how computers work. Cool. Anyway, so thank you, Trevor R. Trevor S.
Hey, everybody. My name's Trev, he, him. I am from the great state of Colorado. And before this, I was managing a pizzeria called Sliceworks and serving Denver's most intoxicated.
That reminds me when I was Lyft driving for a little while. Let's hear from Will.
Hi, I'm Will. Pronouns are he, him.
I'm originally from Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. And before touring, generally, I was working in certification, professional certification, and test security.
Awesome. Is there anyone on the call who did not get a chance to speak yet?
Yes, me and Doug.
Ah, yes.
The D's.
And me.
I missed all the D's somehow. So let's go
And
with
AL.
and the what?
The
Oh,
A.
Alexa. I do not. Oh yeah. Oh man, I missed a lot of people. Okay. All right. Well, let's take it from the top. Adam.
Name's Adam. I'm sure glad that you missed some names because I started to think that I hadn't been promoted after all, and I'd made it all up in my head. He, him, hometown is Aurora, so a suburb of Denver, and I was a lawyer before coming to Turing.
Great. Alex.
Hello, I'm Alex, he, him. From Arkansas, but live in Texas now, from Dallas. And before this, I was doing some programming, software development.
Awesome. Alexa.
Hi, I'm Alexa, she, her, from Jersey, now residing in Philly. Currently have a nice snowstorm happening, so that's fun. And before Turing, I was a project manager for interior construction, specifically the fancy stores on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan.
Thank you. Andrew.
My name's Andrew, he, him. I'm from Mesa, Arizona, currently living in Gun Barrel, Colorado. And before going to Turing, I was working at a breakfast restaurant. I was working at a sober living that I had previously gone through, and working multiple jobs just didn't seem sustainable. So I figured I'd go into something where I could work one job and make more money than at multiple jobs.
Great. And then I think I got Angel, and then let's hear from Diana.
Hey everyone, name is Diana, pronouns she, her. I was born and raised in Bolivia, then moved to the Northern Virginia area. I used to live in Alexandria, and now I live in Virginia Beach since about 2013. And before that, before Turing, I was looking for a new career. So I'm happy to be here now.
Thank you for repping the 757. Let's hear from Dominic.
Hi, he, him. I'm originally from Dyer, Indiana. I've kind of lived a little bit all over the country, but immediately before Turing, I was a 911 dispatch supervisor. And then COVID kind of stressed me out of that field. So here I am.
Well, welcome in. And then let's hear from Doug.
Hey all, I am Doug Welchins, he, him. I am originally from the Midwest, spent 18 years in San Diego, and recently moved to northwest Montana, about half mile from the Canadian border. Moved up here to live with the family so I could go to Turing. Before Turing, I paid the bills by being an electrical project manager for a contractor down in San Diego. Also worked as a martial arts instructor and a scuba diver, dive master, teaching people how to dive, and worked mostly with Wounded Warriors and Aspire program that deals with PTSD victims and helping them cope with that through diving.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you all for sharing. Did I get everyone now? Cool. Awesome. Yeah, somehow it just scrolled down to Angel as my first one and said, oh, that seems right. That seems like a first person. All right, well, let's go ahead and we're going to take a POM next. Are you all familiar with POMs from Mod 1? Did you all do regular POMs? Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna try and stick to palms like pretty regularly. Just note that like different instructors do have different styles with like taking breaks. I'm not always gonna be like, I don't set a timer. I'm not gonna have like on the dot for palms, but typically around like 25 to 30 minutes, I will try to give us a 5-minute break. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And we will come back at 10:31. If anyone's back yet, can you confirm for me, can you see my slide right now? And it says like goodbye console, hello browser.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. Thank you.
Although it looks like it's maybe partially cut off.
Okay, so if I do this, does anything change?
Now it looks right.
It was partially cut off, like maybe this module overview part was cut off?
No, on the right-hand side, it was like BRO and half of the W and everything else.
Does it do it again if I do that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. All right, so as everybody comes back, what I would like you to do is I would like you to open up the reactions panel and give me a raise hand reaction so that I know you're back. Awesome. The unintended consequences, I've got notifications flying everywhere. Oh, this is great. Cool. So as you come back, go ahead and give me a hand raise. It's going to be in the reactions panel. I think we need, so I've got Jesus, can you, do you see where that hand raise is? Perfect. And then I think is Andrew. Andrew might still be stepped away. Andrew, can you hear us okay? I see it says connecting to audio for you. Yeah, Andrew might be frozen here. All right, that's all right. We've got this recorded. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on. You all can put your raised hands, you can put your hands down. I will get to that in a little bit, but just wanna make sure everybody could find that. I know that it has changed. So it used to be on the participants panel, now it's a reaction. If you haven't gotten that change, I would just recommend that you all update your Zoom. So the way that you would do that is you would go up here, and if this said Zoom, you would click here, and then there would be a check for updates button here. That's where it should be. But yeah, I would recommend that you update your Zoom as frequently as possible. I don't have that philosophy with everything, like your operating system. I wouldn't necessarily upgrade your operating system all the time, but for Zoom, you should be pretty safe, and it should only help you to update Zoom. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be doing in Mod 2. So Mod 2, like I said earlier, we're getting you out of the console and we're going into the browser. So now, like, rather than playing Battleship from your terminal, you should be able to play Battleship from Google Chrome, for example. Battleship Mod 1 project still? Yes? Awesome. Okay. So what are the major topics of Mod 2? The big one is the web and HTTP. So because we are building applications for the web, we need to have a baseline understanding of how the web works. And so we'll start that, excuse me, we'll start that this afternoon with our first How the Web Works class, and we'll kind of like sprinkle those in throughout the module. And we'll get into HTTP there too. Rails and its conventions. Rails is the web framework that we're going to use. So this is kind of like the platform that we're building all of our applications on. So Rails does a lot of things. When I say framework, that you can think of that as like, it does a lot of things for us that we don't necessarily have to understand. And a lot of what it does has to do with that like web HTTP. So while Rails does a lot for us, we still want to have some baseline understanding of what Rails is doing under the hood. As always, testing is going to be huge here. So in addition to writing the Rails applications, testing Rails applications is going to be a major topic. Testing and test-driven development is going to continue to be important through Mod 2, through Mod 3, and hopefully in your whole career. And then the last big topic is Active Record in SQL. So I will talk about data and databases a ton this mod, and SQL, as you saw from the intermission work, is essentially how do we interact with the data. So SQL is huge, and Active Record is essentially like a nice wrapper on top of SQL. So those topics are very closely related, and yeah, that we're gonna cover them in depth. Trevor R, what's up? Oh, or was that hand from before? Sorry, my bad. My bad. Well, on that note, if anybody has a question at any point, like feel free to use that raise hand reaction. Let's take a look at the Mod 2 homepage here. So here is where you'll find most of our lesson and project and resource material. So the first thing that I want to point out is the learning goals. I don't want to go through all of these right now because I think a lot of it would just be a little bit too much right now. I do want you all to read through these learning goals on your own, and I want you to do it at several points in the module. So I want you to do it now, not right now, but today. I want you to do it as we're beginning the module, and probably a lot of this will feel like, I don't really understand what that is even saying. Then I want you to do a check at the mid-mod, so halfway through the mod, how am I doing? How am I progressing through Mod 2? And then I also want you to do this right before week 6, maybe that weekend right before week 6. And so you can ask yourself the question, have I mastered these learning goals that they've asked me to throughout the mod? So go ahead and just make a note for yourself right now. That's one like to-do action item that I want to give you right away. I'll give you all a minute to jot that down. If you don't already have some sort of like to-do list tracker or something like that, I would recommend starting it right now. Like pull up your notes app on your Mac. You could do it in Atom and just like make a file. I prefer pen and paper for my to-do list. So those are the learning goals. Intermission work, kind of done with that. Lessons, this is going to be our big lesson index. Now, what I will say about this is some of this material we're not going to cover. So it was in previous versions of Mod 2, and we might not necessarily get to it, but it's there if you want to see it. Hash functions is a big one that we're not necessarily going to cover, but if you want to kind of advance your algorithmic thinking, this would be a good thing to look at. Then we've got our projects index page, which is going to, we'll get into that later today when we kick off our first project. This resources page here, this is really just kind of like a catch-all for things that we think would be interesting for you all to look at if you have some spare time, but not necessarily things that we're directly going to cover. So for instance, callbacks and refactoring, that is used commonly in Rails. We're not necessarily going to teach it. Rack, this kind of gets into like under the hood, what are some things that Rails does for us? Well, you can work through this to just kind of get a better understanding of Rack, which is one of the underlying technologies. Here's a resource on FactoryBot. This is like a testing tool that you'll see is listed for like, if you want a 4 on this project, try and implement something like FactoryBot. So there's a resource here. There's a ton of like styling resources here because we're not going to cover styling too much this mod. what you did in the intermission work, and 1 exploration is what we're going to cover in terms of styling. But there's a ton. If you are really passionate about styling, this is a great place for you to just kind of like dive in. And then there's this all the way at the bottom. So this is preparing for module 3, experimenting with APIs. We are going to do not this one specifically. Actually, let me click on this. Yeah, we're not going to do this one specifically, but we are going to get into APIs later in the mod. And then this one down here, how to write a great README. This one is one that will come up later when we start to ask you to write READMEs. Now, I will mention it again because we're not going to do it for the first project, but just know that that's there. So that's all of our resources page. None of that is really like, you should be looking through this or you really need to be looking through this. The exercises page is a little bit different. There are a couple things that I really think that you should be taking advantage of here. The first one is, I think it's actually this 3rd section here, which is our independent challenge practices. So I'll talk about our independent challenges a little bit later, but these are all of your practices. So these are good things to like practice and then meet with Madeline, the student support person, and work through them with her, or work through with a mentor or something like that. These are just really short burst practices that are really good for you all. There are some other good resources in here. The 2 I really want to talk about are the obstacle course and Blogger. So Active Record obstacle course, this is one that I highly, highly recommend that you all work through, especially if you find Active Record challenging. It's not required, but in the past it was required to complete module 2. So we're giving you all a little bit more freedom here to decide if this is something that you really that you want to practice Active Record more. Not required, but highly recommended. It is broken out into weeks. So there's like a week 1, week 2, week 3. So you can kind of like work through it as we are going through the mod. Yeah, so highly recommend that one. The other one is Blogger. And I want to point this one out because this is one that is like, it's been in mod 2 for a long time, and it is a really good resource. So you will probably, can I just get like a hand raise? Has anybody already been suggested that they look at Blogger? No? Yeah, Doug, maybe a little bit. Yeah, so Blogger is a really great resource. What it is it's a tutorial, and it's a long tutorial. So if I click on this, like it's got these, it's broken down into iterations because it is so long. And things like authorization and authentication, we're not necessarily going to get into this mod. So while this is a really good resource, it's not necessarily one I would recommend that you start right now. So what we're going to do in mod 2 is we're going to like introduce topics and we're going to roll them out, and Blogger just kind of like gives you everything at once. So if you start working through Blogger like day 1, a lot of stuff might be kind of like, you might really not have any context for it. And so I would recommend that Blogger is something that you do like maybe going into mod 3, or maybe like halfway through mod 3, or even like towards the end of mod 2. I would not start it right away. So those are the resources I wanted to point out to you. There are some other good ones in here, and I would say like just explore those as you see fit. The final section on our mod 2 homepage is requirements down here, and I'm going to talk about all of this a little bit more. But this is where you're going to find information on your portfolio, our promotion guidelines, our assessment guidelines, and this is the link to the PD curriculum. And then we've got the calendar down here. So I've been talking for a while. I want to pause. Does anybody have any questions about what I've discussed so far? All right, well, if anything comes up, just use that raise hand. And for now, we'll keep going with this. So what are expectations for Mod 2? So this is going to be both what do we expect from you as students and what can you expect from us as instructors? So the first one here is on attendance. So you're expected to be in the online campus from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4 every weekday and responding to Slack messages in 24 hours. So those are kind of like our working hours. If now we do understand, like, sometimes your schedule doesn't allow for this. You might be a parent and you might have to take care of your child. And we understand the theme with all of this is going to be just communicate with us. If you communicate with us ahead of time, if you communicate early and often, we can be flexible. But without communication, this is kind of like our what we're going to expect. We're going to use this at 2011 backend students user group in Slack to send out announcements. I've done that last night and today, and so you all should be familiar with that. But we do expect that any message that we tag with that user group, you all are reading and understanding, making notes of any action items that we get. This is kind of like, this is our main way we're going to send out announcements. We do appreciate emojis. So I saw you all, I got on this morning and saw a bunch of emojis, and that is really nice for me just to know, like, okay, good, they see it. Sometimes we might require emoji. We might say, like, give me a check when you've done this, or give me a check when you've read this, or something like that. And yeah, we just ask that you participate in that. So with all of our classes and activities, you are expected to be on time and present. This is our official policy here. So if you are 1 minute late, you're counted as tardy. If you are 30 minutes late, you are counted as absent, regardless of if you join after that 30 minutes. And again, like, just communicate around this. If you send us a message and tell us, like, you're running late for some reason, we will be more than likely understanding of your situation. When there is not a activity, so you'll see calendar events that are scheduled as work time, we will post a Slack thread. So I'll use this at 1811 backend students, and it should say like, please respond to this message within or by 1 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever it is. And so you just post under that, and that should be your attendance. Let's talk about class a little bit. So the first thing here, this is another potential action item for you if you haven't screen shared on Zoom. I think most of you probably should have screen shared at some point in Mod 1, but if you haven't, you should make sure that this setting is clicked. So under System Preferences, Security and Privacy, Microphone and Camera, make sure that Slack and Zoom are both selected. I am not going to use, if you all want to use Slack calling between each other, that's fine. But for meeting with me personally or any of our classes, I'll be using Zoom specifically. So I stay away from the Slack calling feature. Use this raise hand reaction when asking questions. Yeah. And then use the chat. So use the chat, but use it for fun. So if you want to, like, make jokes or like just generally, like, chat with your cohort mates, like, that's totally fine. We don't have a problem with that. Just with the expectation that we're not going to monitor the chat for questions. So if you have a question and you put it in the chat, most likely we're not going to see it. Sometimes I might see it pop up if I'm looking at the right time, but in general, you shouldn't expect that your question is answered if you put it in the chat. If you see something in the chat that is a good question that you want to have answered, just raise your hand and ask it, and we can answer. And if you're also the person who posts a question and you realize, like, maybe I should just ask that, like, go ahead and raise your hand. We really just want to encourage all questions. They're all welcome. So for our classes, our Zoom calls are going to be linked in the calendar event. So I posted a message yesterday saying like, this, we'll be meeting in my Zoom room at 10 o'clock. For our future classes, it is expected that you are looking at the calendar event and finding the Zoom link in that calendar event. So you'll have an opportunity to do that for professional development this afternoon. You'll go into the Mod2 calendar, you'll click on the calendar event for professional development, and you should see a Zoom link in there. Yeah. Our Zoom link, so this is not going to be true for this PD in the afternoon because one of the front-end instructors, David, is going to be leading you all. But for our Mod 2 classes, Jameson and I are going to use our personal meeting rooms. And I will go ahead and after this is over, I'm going to pin those into our cohort Slack channel. So the personal meeting rooms, if you haven't seen, my link is like turingschool.slack.com/my/Brian Zanti. And I think Jameson is /my/Jameson Ordway. So the reason why we do that is just to like really simplify the number of Zoom meeting links there possibly are. So essentially for Mod 2, when you are meeting with an instructor, you have two possible links. It's either my personal link or Jameson's personal link. So if you're doing a check-in or an eval, you know you're supposed to be with one of us, you know which Zoom link it is. And we will still put those into the calendar event, but we're just trying to make it as easy as you all to like figure out where you're supposed to be. Additionally, we might do like office hours or something. And so if you want to pop into like Jameson's office hours, you know where to find their Zoom link. The second thing I have on here is feedback surveys. So we are going to give you all really short surveys after each class. The idea there is we thrive on your feedback and we make changes as you all give us that feedback. At the end of the day, we're here to serve you and try to help you become software developers. And so we very, very much value your opinion. If something isn't working for you in class, we want to hear about it. And so we are going to give you these short feedback surveys. We can talk a little bit more about that when we do our first one this afternoon. Recordings, we're going to upload our recordings to YouTube. Over the break week, I believe it was on Friday, I pinned in the Slack channel your YouTube Mod 2 playlist. And so all of our videos will be uploaded to that same playlist, including this intro right now. We do ask that you turn your videos on during class. If there is, for whatever reason, like you can't have your video on, please just Slack us and let us know why that is. And we'll be happy to make accommodations on a case-by-case basis. The reasoning behind this is it just encourages engagement more, is one thing, and it also helps us as instructors get some feedback. So in the Zoom world, it's sometimes harder for us to see like who is engaged, who is maybe like who is maybe like disengaging with the material a little bit. And so this is a lot easier in a physical classroom setting for us. So at the very least, we want to be able to see your videos on Zoom. In terms of engagement, we just find that students with their videos on are a lot more engaged. Like you're less likely to be like getting up and cleaning something or like doing dishes or something like that. So we just ask that like when it's class time, you're focused in, you're there for class, you're not distracted by other things. And then the final thing here is use headphones. So the audio is just a lot better when you're using headphones, even if that's just you're listening to the audio in your headphones and you're still using the computer microphone, that's fine. But when you're using both the computer mic and the computer audio, they kind of feed back into each other and they cut each other off and the sound quality is not great. So if you don't have headphones, you can fill out, Ramiro mentioned this in State of Turing, but there is a form pinned in announcements, and you can use that to fill out your headphones or fill out your order for your headphones. So this is this is a requirement here. So this is not like oh, if I like might need new headphones. Like if you don't have the headphones, get the headphones. It's gonna make everyone's Zoom experience a lot better. And we're happy, and Turing will pay for them. All right. So just a little bit more on class here. This is more of a like how we teach and like what you can expect from our classes. The first thing here is don't expect every class to follow the lesson plan exactly. The lesson plans are there as a resource. They're there as kind of like a additional guidelines, but as far as what we choose to do in the classroom itself, it might not necessarily follow this lesson plan. So in the past, we found that like sometimes students expecting classes to follow the lesson plans, and when we don't, then it's like this mismatched expectation. It can cause a little bit of conflict. So just want to say that right off the bat that we're not necessarily going to teach every class in a specific way. And that's kind of what the second bullet point is getting at here. Like we're going to use a variety of teaching styles. Not everybody learns the same way. And so as much as we can, we want to try different things to engage everybody. Now, what that means is that some classes might not work as well for you as other classes, and that's okay. The next thing I want to talk about here is this diversity of skills. And I think this is just really important for us to recognize right off the bat. Not everybody is at the same place in terms of their learning. Not everybody is struggling on exactly the same thing at any given time, and that's okay. So with that diversity of skill set, some people might get something different out of a class as someone else, and that's totally fine. What we want, our goal is that everyone is learning in the class, whether that's you're furthering your understanding of something you already understand pretty well, or you're just wrapping your head around a new concept for the first time. As I said earlier, it's some classes might work better for other people, but in our ideal world, everybody, no matter where you're at, is furthering your understanding somehow. So to that end, we give you all in class, we give you lots of opportunities to try things on your own. Go out and try this. So if you try it and it was pretty straightforward, try to make it a little bit more complicated. Try another use case. If you are struggling with just the task that we give you, then that's okay. That's why we gave it to you, is so you can struggle. So we do try to give you all plenty of ways to, like, I said it here, like choose your own adventure. And if you are not learning in the class, if you found that like whatever opportunities we gave you to try on your own, whatever adventures we gave you to choose, you chose one that didn't quite work from you, let us know. We give you these surveys after every class, and we want to hear from you if something didn't work for you. And if you give us that feedback, on the surveys are anonymous. If there's something specific you want to talk about for you personally, feel free to follow up with us. Shoot us a DM. We'll be happy to meet with you and talk to you about it. All right, let's go ahead and take another palm, and we will start back up at 11:04. All right, everybody. I'm going to get started in just a couple seconds. So as you come back, go ahead and turn your videos back on. That's a good signal for me just to know that people are back and ready to go. So now that you all have had a couple minutes to digest this information, what questions do you all have? I want to get at least one question. Brisa.
Hi, so in Mod 1, we had the ICs kind of like scheduled for us. And I was looking at the calendar and it looks like we just have one independent challenge. Should these be things that we just do, like try to complete by week 1 or week 2 by ourselves and do like a mental check? Or do we turn them in?
So the independent challenges, the ones that I pointed out on the exercises page, those are just for you to practice. So whenever you want to do it, in week, we do have some scheduled that we are going to be doing. And let me double check on this. Where is that? Oh, it's actually in week 3, isn't it?
Yeah, the 17th.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so the first one is going to be on the 17th. So to answer your question, like, should we be doing them on our own? And I think you said and turning them in. You should be working them on your own. They are designed so that you can, like, I think it actually says like week 2 next to one of them, and now the independent challenge is in week 3. Let me don't talk about it. Let me show you. So like these 2 down here that say week 2, this is a little out of date. These are going to be in week 3, but they're designed so that you can like work through one of them in anticipation for what you're going to be doing in the actual independent challenge. Yeah. I'll talk a little bit more about the independent challenges as well. But in terms of like scheduling, yeah, first one's going to be in week 3. Karen.
I just want to ask some clarifying questions just to make sure I have this straight. So we're expected to, or it's highly recommended for us to go through the active record obstacle course and to also go through Blogger. And everything else that's on the resources page is just kind of like FYI, it sounds like. Are the projects like going to be similar to how Mod 1, like we got these projects with a lot of like concepts or maybe tools that we had never heard of before or were like not introduced to? Are we going to get the same sort of like surprises, I guess?
Gotcha. So for the first part, yes, that was all right in terms of the resources. The only thing I would add is for Blogger, like I would work through it, at least wait until like the mid-mod until you start working through Blogger. That would be my recommendation. And then in terms of the projects, yes, we are going to, we're going to throw stuff at you that you haven't necessarily seen before. And a lot of that is some of that is with the intent of you try it on your own first, and then we kind of like show you how to do it. Some of that is with the intent of, we're going to show you something that we're not going to tell you how to do in class, and we want you to go through the process of researching and figuring out on your own and then reviewing it after the project is done. And that the idea behind that is that that's what you're going to be doing on the job. You are going to have to like research and figure things out. And we do try to do our best. This is something that we would want to hear about in the feedback on the projects if this isn't working for you, but we do try to do our best to keep those like research on your own challenges small and short, so that you're not spending all of your time researching on your own. It's maybe like 90% is stuff that we are doing in class. And then there's a little bit of like, oh, I'm not exactly sure how to do this.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. Jake.
Yeah, so just to kind of like keep piggybacking off of that question, if we do have questions, what's the best way to like try to reach out to you or Jameson? Is it like through direct message on Slack, or is it posting in the Slack channel and tagging you? And then like, what are like your thoughts on the whole turning idea of like productive struggle and when we should be asking questions, and like if it's a question we should be figuring it on our own versus actually asking you.
Yeah. So for the first part of that, like what's the best way to ask the question? Either one of like DM Jameson and I, or tag us in the cohort channel or in the code help channel. And that's just I just use your discretion about which one is going to be more effective. If it's something you think your classmates would benefit from hearing, then put it in one of the public channels. If it's something that is only going to apply to you, then just DM us. So for instance, like a question around like, hey, I am not going to be able to work on this day. I'm wondering, like, can I get this a little bit earlier? Can you help me with this? Something like that. That to you, specific to your situation, just DM us. If it's something like, hey, I don't understand this point on the project. Can someone clarify this for me? Maybe one of your classmates can jump in if you post that in a public channel before we even get to it. And that's really what we want. Ideally, in our minds, like you all are using each other as a resource before you come to us. And a way that you can do that is by posting in the public channels. Not that you can't tag us, but there's 30 of you all and 2 of us. So it's more likely that someone from your class is going to respond faster than us.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Let's talk about the calendar a little bit. So use the Mod2 calendar either from the Mod2 homepage or by adding it to your own calendar. This calendar for us, and I'll show you first before I talk about it. On the Mod2 homepage down here, this is I would think of this as like the source of truth for what is going on in the module. So for instance, what classes are being taught, what Zoom link they're going to be at, what the surveys are, all that stuff. We try and put as much as we can into this calendar. So between the calendar and Slack, those are our main ways of communicating with you all. So this calendar is really important. So you can use it by just like visiting the Mod2 homepage and looking at it. And so what I was saying earlier is like for your PD class, you would like click on this and you would see this Zoom link right here and you would click on that. That will take you to the Zoom link. I would recommend using this this plus Google Calendar down here to get this onto your personal calendar. This is like an embedded iframe here and it's not like super interactive. If you add this to your own calendar, you'll be able to like look at it on your calendar and maybe add other events to it. So I can show you what mine looks like. If I go here to my Google Calendar. Oh, this is gonna pull up my personal. Let's go to Turing Calendar. And so this is just like a much nicer view, and then I can click on and off different calendars. So this is our whole Mod2 calendar right here. And so like I could then add on to my personal calendar. So I'm like, okay, this is specifically for me when I want to do some like PD work or something like this. So if I was a student like you all, I'll like move this to my personal calendar. And so this is what I would recommend that you all do, just because it's a nice way to like integrate your own personal calendar with our Mod2 calendar, versus if you're just looking at it over here, this isn't really like customizable. This is just like an information dump. So use the calendar, very important. What things are we going to put in the calendar? So I started talking about this. The calendar events for your classes are going to show you the Zoom meeting. It's going to give us the lesson materials, which is typically just the lesson plan that's also linked on, that's also on our backend site. And then also that survey that I talked about. That's where you're going to find the after each class survey. In addition to classes, we have project check-ins and evals, and that's where we're going to find sign-up sheets. And you're also going to find feedback surveys. I'll talk about the sign-up sheets a little bit more, but these project feedback surveys are, again, like we really value your feedback. And so that's where you'll be able to find that survey. If you wanted to like pull it up at the beginning of the project and just like fill it out as you go through the project, that would be awesome. We also put our due dates onto the calendar as well. And that is where you'll find a submission form for your projects. And then we're also going to have calendar events for the end of week surveys. So let's just take a look at all that together. So I'll show you what this looks like on, let's just do it on this calendar right here. So for our check-ins, we're going to have our first project check-in on Wednesday, Wednesday afternoon. And you'll see this link to the sign up in here. So when I click this, this is a Google Sheet. And this is where you're going to sign up for check-in and eval times. So we are not going to give you a specific time slot. Where in the past, what we've done is we've said like at 9 o'clock, we're meeting with Jake and Jeremiah. We're going to give you a little bit more flexibility, especially in the remote world. We just want you all to like kind of take charge of this a little bit. So if there's like a specific time that you want that's going to work better for you, you can go ahead and like sign up for these as early as today. Yeah, we do keep it anonymous for what instructor you're going to be working with. So instructor 1, instructor 2, you're just going to like sign up for one of us. And then what we'll do, I'll show you what I do here. What we'll do is we'll actually turn this into a link here. And so this is where I would put my personal meeting link. Where can let me grab one of those real quick. So this is my personal meeting link. So then I will turn this to, and this will typically be like maybe 5 minutes before the actual check-in. Is I'll put that there, and now this is a link, and so you can click on it and take it to the instructor's Zoom room. And so you can see there, that's my personal meeting link with my name in it. You should have open, I see there's a couple people in here. Can you all just confirm that you can edit this? Yes, perfect. Thank you all. So you all do have full edit access. I'm gonna delete all this. You do have full edit access. So I just ask that you all be courteous and don't delete someone else's check-in time or move someone to a different check-in. Just edit your own personal information. You'll see down here that there are tabs for the other check-in. So there's check-in 2 here. This one is going to be for next week. And then there is similarly an eval tab down here for evaluation on Thursday. So we're going to have one sign-up sheet for all the things you need to sign up for a project. Back to the calendar here. The next thing that we would see here is the end of week survey here. So I'll click on this. This is the event here is for 4 o'clock. But you know, we try not to work on the weekends too much. So if you want to take the weekend to fill this out, this is totally fine. But I think if I was in y'all's shoes, I would just want to like fill out the end of the week survey and then be done with it as kind of like my last final thing to do on Friday before my weekend is like kind of free to work on the project and whatnot. But you all can take the weekend if that's what you would like to do. This is what this looks like. There are 3 questions here for, I enjoy being a student at Turing. My time was valuable. I felt included in the community here. And then when we also give you a space to just put like, is there anything you would like instructors or staff to know? And then there's also a fun question down here. So if we get whatever responses we get, we'll post. This is kind of fun to just see like what people are thinking, get to know you all a little bit more. Yeah. So we're not going to hunt people down for surveys and get people to do the surveys. We just ask that you all fill this out. And we put this calendar event here to just like give you all this reminder. So please, like when you see this event, please just like fill out that survey. We don't want to have to like chase people down, and it's really helpful for us to just like get everyone's thoughts. And then I'll show you that project. I don't know why this is here. I will figure that out. But I'll show you this project due date one. So this first project is going to be due at 10 p.m. on Wednesday. And so here is the event here, and then the submission form is linked right there as well. And yeah, I think that that's everything about the calendar. So calendar, super important. Make sure you're using it. I recommend you add it to a Google Calendar. Yeah, any questions on calendar scheduling kind of stuff? Jordan.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I'm not sure. It sounded like let me put this, we had an assignment tracker in the last mod. I was wondering if we have one in this one, and it sounds like maybe all our assignments are just, it's listed in the assignment on the calendar, or is there a separate assignment tracker?
So there is no separate assignment tracker. We tried that out for the past 2 mods, and kind of what we found is that it was difficult for us and therefore difficult for the students, because essentially what we had things defined in 2 different places. So we would have calendar event that says this thing, and then we also have due date tracker, which says this thing about when this is due. And sometimes the forms were different links, and it was just like, it's kind of the dry principle in coding, do not repeat yourself. So if we have to make a change, we just make it in one place. And so we can truly refer to this calendar as your source of truth. This is like your one-stop shop for all of your due date scheduling kind of needs. So yeah, there is no separate assignment tracker for this mod. If you would like to make yourself an assignment tracker, feel free to do so, but we're not going to do that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brian, for not doing that thing for me. You're welcome. All right. Other questions? Anything else coming up right now? Feeling good? Maybe a little burnt out? All of my classes won't be like this, I swear. I'll give you all more. It'll be more interactive in the future. Professional development. I think the most important thing to say here is that this is just as important to code. There's no point in learning to code if you can't get a job. So professional development is super important. The main deliverable in PD is your career journal. You all should be familiar with this from Mod 1. We, in the past, have put professional development work time on the calendar. And what we found is that sometimes you're not quite in the mood for professional development. Sometimes, like for me personally, it's hard for me to do professional. The thing that I get really passionate about, I get really excited about is code and programming. Like that stuff is, I can always work on that. Professional development, I kind of like have to get into the mindset for. So for me, it's easier to start PD stuff like at like 9 a.m. Like I'll start that off with my day, and then I'll get into the fun stuff. You might not feel that way. So we aren't gonna like give you a specific, like this is when you need to be working on professional development. But we do need you to set aside to dedicate some of your work time for this. So some time that you have free, you need to be working on your career journals. This is just as important as the coding. We are going to do some group sharing in this mod with our career journals. So what that's going to look like is I'm going to put you all into breakout rooms of like 3 or 4 people, and you'll just talk about what did you write in your career journal this week. And there's 2 main reasons we do that. Number 1 is accountability. If you're meeting with a group and sharing what you're talking about, it's more likely that you're going to do it so that you come prepared to that. What we really don't want is we don't want in week 6, you're doing all of your assessments, you're doing your final project, and then someone from the PD team is reaching out to you saying like, hey, this career journal isn't done. And so you just kind of throw it all together. That's not really going to serve you in the long run. That's just going to turn into busy work. What is going to serve you in the long run is you dedicate some time weekly to thinking about these ideas. And so we do want to try and keep you accountable for doing that weekly. The other thing is collaboration. So really early on in this job hunt process, we want to send you the message that the job hunt is not a solo adventure. You are not alone in this. I think a lot of times students can feel like, well, if I like share a job posting, then I'm going to have more competition for it. And that's that is a fine like first reaction. I think that makes sense why you would think that way, but we want to kind of like move away from that mindset and move into the mindset of, if I'm working with my cohort, if we're sharing ideas, sharing job postings, talking about interviewing strategies, doing mock interviews with each other, that's going to benefit everyone in the long run. And viewing it as kind of like a solo activity is not going to benefit as much. So we want to get you all collaborating and sharing these ideas. And those are going to be on the calendar as well. Those are about like 30-minute blocks. So they're like smaller, physically smaller on the calendar, or visually smaller, but that's what those are. All right, now let's get into the real meaty stuff here, assessments and challenges. So we are going to do 2 major assessments this mod. We're going to do a mid-mod and a final assessment. These are going to be independent, so you're not going to be pairing with an instructor. You're not going to be doing anything with the instructor during the assessment. And additionally, there's not going to be any pre-work for this. So for your assessments, what you should expect is to show up at 9 a.m. They'll both be at 9 a.m. So show up at 9 a.m. prepared to work through the morning, so 9 to 12 by yourself, and that's about it. So you, yeah. The independent challenges here, these are not necessarily assessments, these are challenges. So I mentioned this, that the first one's going to be Wednesday of week 3. And then the second one is going to be Friday of week 4. And the mid-mod is going to be Monday of week 4. So what that ends up being is Wednesday week 3, Monday week 4, Friday week 4, you're doing a lot of individual things. So these are all like really good data points, both for us and for you in the middle of the mod, to kind of see like, where am I at individually? Where am I at with my skills? We are going to do another independent challenge in week 5 of Wednesday, but this is going to be a Ruby challenge. So the other independent challenges are meant to kind of like prepare you for the final. This Wednesday week 5 one is going to be more of a like, let's work in raw Ruby. We haven't had a chance to do that in a while. So that's what you can expect for this one. So the mid-mod and all of these challenges are good progress checks. They're also a good way for us to give you feedback, but they do not count towards promotion. I will get into like what does count towards promotion next. I did see a hand go up. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I was just curious if the ICs were going to help us prep for the mid-mod and the final.
Gotcha. Yes. All right, so I think we should be able to power through for another 10 minutes or so, and then wrap this up a little early. So let's talk about feedback. So probably the most important thing that we can do as instructors for you all is to give you feedback. And so the ways that we do that are in your project check-ins. So we're going to have 2 for this first project, as well as the eval. So there's 3 dedicated scheduled times for us to give you all feedback. Additionally, the assessment, mid-mod, and the challenge reviews are good places to get feedback. Something that we started doing last mod and that we're going to continue doing this mod, as we got a lot of good feedback on it, is personalized video reviews. So what that's going to look like is me looking at me or Jameson making a video for you all and just kind of like doing a stream of consciousness of like, this is what I'm looking for. Do I see it or not? What would I expect? Do I see that or not? And so this kind of creates an artifact for you all to like go back and watch and kind of like slow down, look at what you need to, or skip over what you don't need to. And we find that this is a lot more helpful than just like giving you feedback in the moment, but then you don't have anything to like go back and review. Additionally, we, in the past, I think we've done written feedback on your pull requests. And that is okay, but it does take a little bit longer for us as instructors to write it up. And it's also not as detailed as us just like talking through on a video. So this is what you can expect for your mid-mod and one of the challenge reviews. And we probably won't do this for both challenge reviews. We will probably just do a walkthrough for the later challenge. So what I'm thinking, this is subject to change, but what I'm thinking right now is first challenge on week 3, we'll give you a personalized video. Mid-mod in week 4, we'll give you a personalized video. And then for the Friday one of week 4, we'll do like kind of like a group walkthrough, something like that. So a little less personalized for that last one. Most importantly, with feedback, the best way for you all to get feedback is to ask for feedback. So the number one thing that you can do to get that good feedback is to come prepared to your check-ins and your evals with questions. That is something that we really, really appreciate as instructors. Most of the times what we'll do is we'll have like a couple things that we'll need to check in the evals, and then that will be for the first couple minutes, and then the last couple minutes is for you all. And so if you don't have any questions, we'll say like, okay, we'll end this right here. And that's okay if you really don't have any questions. Like, you don't need to force it if you don't have any questions. But what we don't want is we have this dedicated time set aside to give you all feedback, and then you don't have that question. And then when you do have that question later, we're busy or something like that. So the number one thing you can do for yourself is to come prepared to those with come prepared with questions, and also just reach out for feedback. We are happy to talk code. We're happy to give you whatever feedback you ask for, but we can't read your mind. So if you reach out to us via DM or Slack, like, really don't want you all to think that you are bothering us or that we're like too busy. If we're too busy, we're not going to respond immediately, but that doesn't mean we're not going to respond at all. I believe someone asked a question earlier on like, if we have a question, like, should we like try and not ask you and avoid unproductive or should we like try to struggle on our own? What I would say to that is you can always ask. You can always ask, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's not going to be any repercussions for you asking us a question. The answer might be, this is something I want you to think about on your own. Let's talk about this in the next check-in, something like that. And that doesn't hurt. So we really want to just encourage you all as much as we can, reach out to us. Jordan.
This may be a question for later when we get closer to the check-ins, and also it might just be extremely different for every person, but I was wondering what kind of questions have been asked in the past that were really helpful for students, or like if you have noticed a pattern in like questions that are really good.
Yeah. How to ask a good question is like definitely that can be a very expansive topic. What I would say is like the best questions are specific. So for example, and specific in terms of like code. So I wrote this line of code. Can you give me some feedback on it? And then it's usually like, so that's probably like one step in the right direction, is just give me something to look at. Give me something to analyze. It's kind of hard if you say like, I'm wondering if I did the views right in my project or did the controllers. I'm like, okay, well, which controller am I looking at? Now it's even better if you say something like, can you look at this specific line of code and tell me how well I did with my active record, or how well I did with adhering to MVC principles. We'll talk more about that later. But yeah, those are the best type of questions. They are specific. There's like a specific answer you're trying to get at. Now, with that being said, like not every question has to be that good. Like a good question could just be, am I struggling on the right thing? Am I spending my time on the right thing here? Is this something that am I going down the right path? Those are all great questions. I think the only bad question is just like one that you don't ask.
Heard that. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, promotion. So in order to be promoted from Mod 2 to Mod 3, these are the 3 things that you need to do. Complete all of your PD assignments, pass the final assessment or the final retake, and pass the final project. Additionally, it doesn't say in there, you will have to give a portfolio presentation. but those aren't like graded or assessed. Those are more of your time. If you refuse to do the portfolio, then maybe we would reevaluate, but I don't think that that is going to happen. So yeah, that is what you can, that's what you'll expect to do to promote to Mod 3. So all of our projects are graded in order to see upward trajectory. And I would add in there, like the grades that you're gonna receive are mostly to give you all feedback. So like I might give you a 2 to say like, this is the thing that I want you to work on. But that doesn't necessarily mean that like you're not passing. So you can think of these weeks 1 to 5, these first 5 weeks together, as we're focusing on learning, experimenting, growing. So if you experiment with something and it doesn't quite go well, and you get a 2 on your project, you can feel secure in that that does not mean that you're not going to pass the mod now. We really want to like encourage you all to like try things on your own, experiment, reach further, reach for new heights if you are feeling good about the required content. So this is just to say like there is nothing in weeks 1 to 5 that is going to that we're going to look at in week 6 when we're making promotion decisions. If you pass the final project, you pass the final retake, you do your PD stuff, we're not going to second guess it. You will pass the mod. So that means that week 6 is essentially our evaluation week. That is when we are looking to do a progress check and see what skills you've mastered and see if you are ready to move on to mod 3. I've got a slide here on how I can be successful, talking a little bit more about the behaviors of successful students. I do want to pause here and make sure that we're good on this. Anybody have any questions about this? Adam.
What exactly is like the retake? Is it like you don't do well in the final assessment and then there's like some day, the next day, what do you do it again?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So if you don't pass the final assessment, you'll be given a chance to take the final retake. The reason for that is we won't like second guess that either. Like if you don't pass the first time, you'll definitely get a chance to do the second time. Sometimes you get nervous, sometimes you have a bad day, sometimes you eat the wrong thing for breakfast and you have to take too many bathroom breaks, like whatever, like things happen. And so we're not gonna give you a like, you have to complete this in this 3-hour block or you don't pass the mod. That's just not really, it's not really fair. So you will get a chance to do the retake. Yeah, and the retake, you can look at our week 6 schedule. What it's going to be is Monday is going to be the final, Tuesday is going to be the final retake. So we'll give you feedback that afternoon if you need to take the retake the next day. Does that answer your question, Adam?
Yeah, it sure does. Thank you.
Okay. Genevieve.
So is grading the same, like 3 would be considered a passing grade, or is it different from mod 1?
Yeah, so 3 is going to be our passing grade. Let me show you this. So most of what I've talked about is, if I click on this promotion guidelines, this you can read about this a little bit more, but this is just my slide in markdown form here. If you look at this assessments page here, this is going to have our rubric for what you can expect and or how we're going to be grading this. And yes, 3 is going to be considered passing for us. So if you get all 3s, then you're passing and you're good to go. That's about it. Now, when it comes to determining what is not passing, that's where things get a little bit more complicated. And we can talk about this more when we get like closer to the finals. But essentially, what it comes down to is, if you need to fit for the assessments, you need to have it complete in order to pass. So if it is below expectations here for completeness, even if you get the 3s on the other categories, that would still be considered an incomplete assessment. Typically, how we determine it after that is if you get a 3 on completion, if more than one of these categories is below a 3, that's when we consider it not a passing. So really what it is if you get all 2s, then, or a way to think of it is if you get all 2s, or less, then that's not passing. If you get all 3s or more, then that is passing. If it's a mix of 2 and 3s, that's when we're gonna like kind of use our discretion a little bit more.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's talk about, I'm gonna do this real quick. No, that's okay. How can I be successful? So like, what do we see from students that are successful and in the past? The first one here is just be engaged in class. I mentioned this earlier, but like really dedicate that class time to, I am here to learn, I'm here to focus. We understand that at Turing, like you've got so many things going on, like even just Slack is like blowing up and you've got this project and you've got PD and oh, there's this obstacle course you're supposed to be working on. And like there's all of these things and you can get very overwhelmed with all of them. Make sure that your class time is focused on what we're doing in class. And so I say like, make sure you're in the right mindset. So for example, like if staying up until, 2 or 3 a.m. or something is gonna make get you a little further in your project, but then you're gonna be tired and not ready to learn in class, I would want you to pick getting a good night's sleep and coming to class prepared over getting more done on your project. Additionally, like I don't want to like be too prescriptive about this, but I find for myself personally, I can't just jump on a Zoom call at a minute before and be ready to go. I need to like sit down at my computer for maybe like 15 to 30 minutes and just kind of like do something to get me in that mindset of like, I'm working, I'm doing something, I'm engaged, I'm waking up, I'm drinking my coffee, whatever it is. So whatever that is for you, make sure that you're doing it to be in that mindset to learn before class. Additionally, successful students are resourceful. They use the lesson materials, so our lesson plans, things that are linked in the lesson plans, the recordings of the lessons that we teach, all of those resources that we give you, and additionally research, looking for things on your own. Being able to go out and read something that someone else has written or a video that someone else has made that's not from Turing and learning some more about a topic. That is something that we see from successful students. Now, this can be a little bit dangerous because we don't want you to be doing everything on your own. So another thing that successful students do is they avoid unproductive struggle. So for example, if you you research something for maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and then you realize, you take a step back and you realize, you take a POM, for instance, like I've been working for an hour, let me take 5 minutes, come back and realize like, I'm not really closer to solving this. In fact, I'm just more confused. That would be a good time to stop and reach out for help. So for example, like if you're making progress, don't continue. If you aren't making progress, don't continue because that's what you're supposed to be doing. So Brian told me that I should be resourceful and research things. So I'm just going to keep researching. Well, if it's not helping you, if that strategy is not working for you, stop doing it. The classic one that we see is students working on a project before comprehending a lesson. So students saying like, I need to work on this project, I'm in this group and I have this work that I need to do. But if you don't understand what's going on in the lessons, you probably aren't going to be able to apply it in the project. So we would want you to review the lessons and make sure that you understand in that confined 3-hour block that we've set aside to explore a topic, that you're good with that before you try to apply it in a bigger context of a project. So this is an example of how like maybe you're researching on your own and you say like, wait a minute, I don't understand that. Like, let me take a step back and like look at a lesson plan, or I'm working on my project, I'm not quite ready to tackle this task. Let me take a step back and use the lesson materials. It might be the case that you're looking through these materials and it's not working. That's not working for you either. And so successful students also know when to reach out for help, and they reach out early and often. So the first one I have here is classmates. This is the most important. As I said earlier, there's 30 of you all and 2 of us. So it's more likely that you're going to get help that someone's going to be available from your cohort sooner than we are. Now, I really don't want to send the message that you cannot reach out to us as instructors for help. We just want you to try and reach out to a classmate additionally. Kind of the same thing with mentors. If you don't have a mentor, highly recommend that you get one. If you don't know how to get one, just reach out to us. The mentoring program at Turing is awesome, and it's only getting better. So please take advantage of this. Upper Mod students are also there to help you. This is a little bit different in the remote space, where like in the physical world, you could just like walk into the Upper Mod classroom. And so that's a little bit harder, but I think I did see already one of our students from last mod reach out to you all. Yeah, so Sydney, Sydney has already shared a helpful video. She shared that last Wednesday. And so that's just an example of someone from the Upper Mod is like, they're there to help you out, right? They're there to help you out additionally. And helping you all out also helps them. Explaining topics to others is really, really helpful for advancing understanding. And I did put student support down here. I wasn't sure, but Madeline did post a message in our cohort Slack channel. So she's here to help you. So take advantage of her as well. That would fall under being resourceful. Take advantage of that. And that's all I've got for you this morning. Do you all have any questions? Or what questions do you have? I am going to post this recording after we're done here. It does take a little while for it to upload, but if there's anything that you need to go back and review, you'll be able to do that as well. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for your attention. I know that this was a really long block to just like be sitting and listening. I promise it will get better. We won't do this every day. Yeah, you'll have PD at 1, so find that Zoom link, and then you'll be back with me at 2, and we'll do our first class. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
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 You're welcome.